Let's go over graphing a trig function. So the very first thing I'm going to do is to notice the amplitude. Notice if this was a -5 cosine of whatever, we would still say that the amplitude is a +5. And that's because amplitude will always be the absolute value of this number. The negative will tell us whether to start our cosine graph at the top or to start our cosine graph at the bottom. If it's negative, it would look like this, but because ours is positive, ours will look more like this. So this also tells us that the highest that our graph will be at 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the lowest that it will be at -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the reason is that we do not have a vertical shift that makes it go up higher or to make it go down lower. So we know that our maximum and our minimums will occur at either y is equal to 5 or at y is equal to -5. The next bit of information we need to find will be our frequency. Notice that our frequency is always whatever's in front of the x. So in both of these equations written differently but representing the same equation, we can see that our frequency is 1/4. What frequency means is that between 0 and 2 pi, I will only see 1/4 of a complete sine wave. So if this is divided into 4 parts, we can see that we have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts. We only will get 1/4 of it here. So our cosine will start at the top, and when 2 pi is over, we would probably only have this 1/4 part of my cosine graph that goes like this. There's a half, 3/4, and then there's our 4/4. So that's what it's telling us. So it actually is going to be stretched horizontally, meaning that we need to go find our period. Period is found by getting our 2 pi and dividing it by our omega. In our case, we're going to get 2 pi and we're going to divide that by 1/4. Remember, we can always divide fractions by saying 2 pi times the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4, and we see that we're going to get 8 pi. That kind of makes sense. What that means is that from 0 to 8 pi, we will see one complete cycle. Let's determine where we're going to start our graph, our new origin. What we do know is that there is no vertical shift up and down, so we're going to start at y is equal to 0. And now we need to see if there is a horizontal shift to see where we're going to start our x values. In our case, it doesn't matter which equation we use. We need to get this parentheses and set it equal to 0. If I set 1/4 x plus pi over 4 is equal to 0, or even if we just get x plus pi is equal to 0. When we solve, I'm going to get 1/4 x is equal to a -pi over 4. Multiply both sides by 4, x is equal to -pi. If I solve this one, I still get x is equal to -pi. What does that mean to us? That we need to start our x-axes at -pi. So let's come to our graph. So we see y is equal to 0 is our original x-axis, so we have that one. This is y is equal to 0. At x is equal to -pi, we can do that anywhere, and just because my axis is here, my y-axis is here, doesn't mean I need to start there. But I'm going to pretend that's 0, and I'm going to go one notch over and say that that's -pi. That's -pi. So from here, what we need to do is add 8 pi to my -pi. So if I do that, I get 7 pi. So what I'm going to do is start here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. that should be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pi. If I go 8 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's going to be 15 pi. Now the reason why I went twice my period is so that I can get 2 complete cycles. So now we're ready, but now I need my increments. To get our increments, what we need to do is get our 8 pi and divide that by 4. When we do that, we get 2 pi. So what does that mean to us? That I go here and I go 1, 2 and claim this to be, the distance is 2 pi, that's going to be at pi. I go 1, 2 and that's going to be 3 pi. I go 1, 2, that's going to be 5 pi. So notice my x values are going to be in increments of 2 pi's. So now we're ready to graph. Because this is a positive cosine, we mentioned that we're going to start at the top and finish at the top. And at our increments, we're going to go find these 5 points. So at the beginning, we're going to start at the top, and we're going to finish at 7 pi at the top. Then in smack in the middle, we're going to be at its minimum. That's going to be at 3 pi. I go down to -5. At the other increments, we're going to see our other points. Just so that you can see what's happening, I'm starting here, coming down. That's 1 increment, 2 increments, 3 increments, 4 increments to get to the top. And we do the same thing here. We go over 2, go down, go over 2, and go all the way down to -5. And then go over 2, come back to our axes, and then go up 5 for our last part. Don't forget to put arrows at the end of your cosine graph, since that goes on forever. And that concludes this video.